In this episode of Member Moments, the Chamber staff steps into another local manufacturing plant, Merrill, Tool, and Waterjet. We got a tour of the facility, met some very friendly employees, and got a first-hand look at what MTW makes for their customers.
Yeah, they're very happy with it. They literally have machine shops down the road.
Merrill Tool and Waterjet, and the name is Waterjet. Started out as a tool and die shop actually before that. Merrill Tool and Die that started in a garage, expanded to out sheds. Then they bought their location on Eugene Street, which was, I want to say it was a 12,000 square foot facility or something like that.
So that ends up being a conveyor roller. Yeah, we use this one. That's basically its sole purpose. Right now,
they acquired the Waterjets then, changed the name to Merrill Tool and Waterjet. At that point, the Waterjet was a primary portion of their business. Machining had gone to the wayside a little bit. When
right here.
they started to kind of catch up on that, all of a sudden their main customer pulls. They decided they have to kind of regroup and figure out machining end of it. Hired on their couple of their first full-time employees, aside from the two of them, brothers Lee and Craig, and then started to rebuild that a little bit and became a pretty prominent job shop in the central Wisconsin area. One of the first in the central Wisconsin area to outsource Waterjet cutting capabilities. Sheet metal business tend to like it quite a bit because there's no hardening of materials or anything like it. It's a very clean cutting process. So a lot of places found that very desirable. And then the machining capabilities came along with it.
Well, basically is, yeah, pretty much, and there ain't a whole lot to it. So we come down with that cutter and fly right through it.
2011, we bought the building that we're in right now. It increased our size from, like I said, I want to say it was around the 10 to 12,000 area, all the way up to the 55,000 square foot area that we're in right now. Allowed us to branch out from just machining and Waterjet work. We acquired machining centers, turning centers, our lasers, our fab department, paint booth, wet spray paint booth, and our assembly department all came about when we moved down to that location on Thomas Street. Like you said, there's two worlds of it. There's laser, there's Waterjet, and then there's also the saw. The saw is basically like everybody's bandsaw, for the most part. Cutting round stock, tube stock, all that kind of stuff. When you get to the laser cutting and the Waterjet cutting, you're talking about flat 2D profile kind of thing, so it's kind of top-down cutting sort of thing, cutting shapes and sizes and all that kind of stuff. The biggest difference between the two, like I said earlier, the Waterjet is a very clean cutting operation, doesn't introduce heat to it, doesn't bake your edge, all that kind of stuff. So blasting through with the garnet abrasive allows for machinability after the fact.
That's the edge quality that we're getting.
When you get over to lasers, especially like in plasma cutting and things like that, they tend to bake that edge a little bit, so the main sell of that Waterjet was that machinability after the fact. In 2014, when we got our first laser, we were getting to the point where we started getting passed by in thinner steels, thinner carbons, and that's when we got our first laser. And we didn't want to do the baked edge thing, still wanted to maintain edge quality and all that kind of stuff, kind of staying true to at the time our slogan was give you a better edge. To stay true to that, we went with a fiber optic laser instead of a traditional plasma cutting laser. And what that did was it's a concentrated beam that just kind of cuts through a lot faster instead of kind of dwelling, I guess, so to speak, and just hardening the edges. So concentrated beam did still bake it, but minimal, so it was still, you kind of knock it off, you kind of work with it a little bit. Did that to kind of stay competitive with that 1/4 inch and less carbon area. When we got to like where the Waterjet kind of met the fiber optic laser in a way, we didn't see a whole lot of benefit in 3/8 and up aluminum, 3/8 and up stainless, but underneath that we kind of did better with aluminums and stainless and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, with carbon kind of changed a little bit. We didn't have to rely on the Waterjet so much for carbon. All of a sudden we could do 1/2 inch, 3/4. We could push it to 1 inch if we really tried in carbon and stuff like that, and still be able to get a good cut.
There's not a lot of heat buildup, but I can cut up to 1 inch stainless steel on the same machine, and there's quite a bit of heat in this, but it's going a lot slower with the thicker materials.
Let's see, 2012, I guess it was then, is when we got our first product in there. Was a subterranean rock picker, and it was in an affiliation with a company over in Anago, branching off into that MTW attachments line as well.
This guy's going to be going up to a horse farm up in Canada because right now they have a problem with ice.
2014 we came out with silage facers. 2016 we came out with our first power box rakes.
So this is our PTO drive power rake. It's a Series 3. It's heavier than basically
and the
anything
box
else
rakes
out
by
there.
and large are our biggest best seller. So that one we've got distributors for, we got dealers for, and all that kind of stuff across the nation.
We're advertising more this year. whole draw is that, especially in Wisconsin, we don't have long summers, so people were kind of talking about the price point and how much you're going to get out of it.
Just about 300 rigs last year. We're on pace to break that again this year. So each year we've done it from 2016 all the way through. We've grown each year about double.
8-foot Series 3, this is our brand new 2022 model. The draw to this one seems to be, again, the horse arena, horse farm application, as well as dirt tracks.
MTW itself, the manufacturing side of things, is going through a rebrand also.
Bearing housings. These are for our power rig. So what these do is the steel housings, that way it doesn't get beaten up.
Just kind of advertising what they are more or less, but focused more on manufacturing. So that's part of that rebrand that we're having right now. The logos are going to be different between the two companies. We can make components for other companies, which we've done, which has gotten us to this point. But we can be that shop that also takes it all the way through and makes it real before it even leaves. The focus on that rebrand has been like from the start to finish process sort of a thing. We can sit down with a customer and engineer it. We got all these cutting capabilities we can use. We've got all the machining processes that we should need. We've got fabrication, we've got wet paint, we've got finishing area, we've got sanding and all that kind of stuff that we can really make a finished product and have it so it's turnkey when it leaves our dock.
A big thank you to Heath Heidemann and the folks at Merrill Tool and Waterjet. Once again, we see another example of some very interesting things made right here in Merrill, and yet another example of a successful homegrown Merrill business. That's it for this episode, and as always, thanks for watching.